What is going on, my broskies? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So today, we're going to be talking about the Limit Break expansion update. So today, as we're recording it, so you can see on the date that it's the 13th, we had a bunch of news come today, which involved the Treasure Map Sugo-Fest, the introduction of the Limited Rocket Lucy banner, once again, you know, with the rehashed event, and there was also stuff about, you know, the update with the ink bottles, as well as Limit Break expansion. So there's a bunch of new characters we could talk about in this video today, and we're going to go through each of them, determine whether or not they're worth Limit Break expanding. And obviously it goes without saying that if you use the character a lot and they're a really high tier character, yeah, you should probably Limit Break expand them. I do think that any character that gets any minus cooldown and is a relatively good legend that you'll use in a lot of content, that's probably a character you want to Limit Break expand. But I guess let's just jump into it. Shout out to, I think it's Godot on the One Piece Treasure Cruise subreddit Discord for providing some character IDs, so we don't have to go ahead and, you know, locate the individual characters. We can just search their ID. We are here on the One Piece Treasure Cruise database, which is going to be linked down below in the video description as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first character on the list, we're going to start with the Sugo-Fest exclusives, is Sugo-Fest exclusive Garp. This character is pretty good. Really interested to see what his expansion is going to bring. So his expansion gives pretty decent attack, 200 additional attack, 350 HP, which is pretty good. He actually does get a cooldown. I can see that straight away. There you go. Reduced by 1. What's it down here? Reduced by 1, which is after the unlock with the key. So he just gets -1 cooldown and some stats. Look, the thing is Garp's cooldown is already relatively low. I mean, you could say his stage 2 is pretty high, but I mean, even still, I think, you know, because his stage 1 special is actually still pretty good, but, you know, if you really need that special bind reduction, then yeah, you want to have his stage 2, but I think 14 turns isn't that bad, and I think that there's a lot of other characters you probably want to expand before you target Garp, that is. So look, he's there. I don't think he's totally worth it, but he does get the -1 cooldown, which is kind of useful for him. I think it was -2. It may be one that you might want to put up on your priority list, but as of right now, probably not. Let's move on to the next one, which is 2631. Shout out to Shirahoshi. So let's see what Shirahoshi has for us here with her expansion here. Shirahoshi, when you get her to level 30, she gets a new captain effect. We'll read that in a second, but she does get -1 cooldown. So she goes to 15 turns for her stage 2 special. Okay. But her new captain ability states boost the attack of all characters by 3.25 and then boost her own attack by 1.25. So this is a gimmick that this Shirahoshi has where your crew gets a boost that's higher, and then her herself does basically have no damage at all. And then recovers 5 times recovery at the end of each turn. And if you don't attack with her, reduce damage taken by 15%. It's not a great captain effect, realistically, when you look at it. What is the difference? Okay, so it goes from 2.5 rainbow to a 3.25 rainbow, but everything stays the same. Yep, everything stays the same, but she does get the additional 100 recovery, which obviously helps out a lot with this character with giving you more healing. But realistically, that 100 extra recovery is only really going to help with her captain effect, because her special ability, even before expansion, was already incredible in terms of the amount of healing you got from it. So the fact that they just add like an additional 100 doesn't mean that much for her special, but it's for her captain effect. It means that, you know, you're going to heal more, which is great. But realistically, no, this is not a character that you should be focusing in for Limit Break expansion. The next one, though, let's have a look. It's 2500, which is Big Mom. Again, this is a character that probably doesn't see a lot of play these days, and I really, even just without looking at what this character does, I can already tell you straight away, this is probably a character you don't want to expand, because this character just is essentially never needed for content. So let's have a look anyway. She does get a new captain effect, it looks like. She does get cooldown, it looks like, as well. So locked with the key, and then she gets the new captain effect, and then reduced her cooldown by 1. So she goes down to an 8-turn cooldown. But her new captain effect is going to be always active, 1.3 health boost. Standard captain is 3.75. Powered up captain is 4.25. And 4 times... A boost own attack by 4.25, then 4 times to the colors, and then 15% damage reduction, and then 12 times boost when she is in her rampage form. Which, how different is that from her regular? Because I can't remember if that is even any different. So always active is the 1.3, so that does not change. The standard captain effect goes from 3.5 to 3.75. Powered up captain is 4.25, 4 times 15, 4.25, 4 times 15, 12 times... Everything else looks the same. Like, honestly, this is not a good Limit Break expansion. Just forget we even talked about this character. Pretend this character doesn't exist, because that's not that great. The only time that I actually use Big Mom is as a support, because her support actually gives you a lot. It gives you 10% of her attack to any strength, dex, or quick. So obviously with expansion, she's going to have like, that's really good attack. And if you're giving her, 100 candy, it's a lot of attack you're adding. Like a 200, nearly 230 attack is pretty good. But realistically, no, do not expand this character. It's a waste of materials. And the final character is 2159, which is Magellan. This is, again, a character that basically never sees play. Unfortunately, a lot of these legends in this expansion list are pretty bad. So let's have a look here and see what he gets. So, unlock it with a key. He gets -2 cooldown. So he goes down to 11. 11 turns is pretty good for what he does, but again, it's one of those things, I don't think it's really worth it. His captain effect does change, so if there is one of each color on the crew, you get a 3 times attack boost, 1.5 health, 15% health cut at the end of each turn, and if you've dealt 300,000 damage during that turn, you poison all enemies. So it all looks the same. The only change here is it becomes a 3 times attack boost instead of a 2.25. Again... This is not great, really. No, just don't even worry about it. Dude, the legends this month are really disappointing. I mean, Garp is the only one that is one you'd maybe do, but the rest of them are just pretty bad. So that's really unfortunate, man. But look, some of these characters had to get expansions at some point, but unfortunately, even with expansions and super evolutions, I don't see any of those characters we just talked about being used as much, even with the expansion. It is what it is. But we've got some treasure map characters to briefly go over. The first one is going to be Sakazuki and Issho. Unit's pretty good, actually. And of course, treasure map units basically never get like buffed captains or anything. The only thing they usually get is cooldown. And he gets -3. Oh, that's pretty good. So he goes down to 13 turns. That's actually really, really good that he goes down to 13, because his base cooldown at 16 is a little too high for my liking. And like, this is going to be good for people that like are mainly centered around using free-to-play teams, because this guy as a free-to-play unit is really good. His captain effect in their dual form, which remember, you need to use their special to become the dual form, 3.75 times boost to 3 colors, and then makes strength and int orbs beneficial to those 3 colors as well. 10% health cut at the end of the turn. The switch effect is a 1.5 orb boost to those 3 colors and giving you a health cut at the end of the turn, which remember, because of the effect of that, you can actually use it to get around resilience buffs on the enemy. And their special ability is randomizing orbs into either strength or int, which remember, when they're in their dual form, they make those orbs beneficial to those 3 colors. So it's essentially, you get a full board of matching orbs, and then also you get you actually will instantly defeat enemies that have really low health, basically, and you get the health cut. It's cool, man. Like, this character's pretty good, but again, this is mainly centered around people that are mainly using free-to-play units and free-to-play teams. And the last one for the treasure maps is 2336, which is Trafalgar Law, another really good unit. And this is a unit that you use typically to give yourself additional cooldown. So what does he get with his key? He doesn't get any cooldown. That is really unfortunate. But at the same time, like, he's already a base 8-turn cooldown. There wasn't really much that they could do to this character to make him even better in terms of his usage as a sub, because remember, Limit Break expansion doesn't buff their special. The only thing they could potentially buff is their cooldowns, or their stats, and their captain effect, or give them a new potential ability. And unfortunately, these characters don't get buffed captain effects. His captain effect is not very great, but the special ability is actually still not bad and still can be used to this day. It would have been interesting if they went ahead and give him additional cooldown, but at the same time, it's already so low, they don't really need to do that. So that's Trafalgar Law. No, not really worth it. There's just, you don't get much out of it. It's not worth the materials, in my opinion. So those are the treasure map units. So now we've got 5 free-to-play units to talk about. The first of which is one of the best Rare Recruit Limit Break expansions you could possibly do, and that is this Buggy right here. Now, the main reason is why I say is to why this character is one of the best expansions you can do in terms of just generic Rare Recruit characters, is because when you expand his Limit Break, he gets a brand new potential ability, which is the Resist the Sailor Despair, which is the Fear debuff, I think it's called. He actually gets -2 cooldown as well, which is exceptional, 11-turn cooldown. So, for those of you who don't know what the Reduce Sailor Despair thing is, when you're inflicted with this debuff, it means that your Sailor effects they become inactive. Now, the really interesting thing about this unit, he has the cremate ability to resist Special Bind on himself by 5 turns, whilst also having a special that resists Special Bind. So you want to make sure that, this means in any circumstance, he'll always be able to launch his special, or so long as the special bind that's inflicted is, 5 turns or less, whilst inflicted with fear as well, which is great. And also resisting all paralysis by 1 is pretty useful too. just because of the new potential ability he gets. 100% worth it. But on top of that, he does get the -2 cooldown as well, and he gets the additional statistics. 11 turn cooldown for his special is great, and you know, the additional stats for Rare Recruit, I mean, the stats don't matter. You're using him for his utility, not for his damage output, so that's pretty cool. I think Buggy, if you have him, is definitely worth the Limit Break expansion. Now, the next one, though, let's have a look, is Holdem 2704. I'm not really too sure what his expansion is going to have here, but this is a pretty good Rare Recruit, can definitely see a lot of usage. So let's have a look and see what he gets. So unlock with a key, he gets the 2 turns of cooldown, which goes down to a 10-turn cooldown. That is fantastic. 10-turn cooldown for what he does is amazing. Reduces barriers by 3 and gives you a chain lock, reduces threshold and rainbow shield. That's so good, man. And then he also gets the ship bind duration. That's not a very useful one. It's just a very uncommon debuff. Ship bind duration doesn't matter that much. The fear one, even though fear is a relatively uncommon debuff as well, that's a much better debuff that will help out your team compared to ship bind duration, because ship bind is essentially in like a very, very small amount of content. So don't really need to worry about that. So let's move on to the next one, which is Mr. 1, which is going to be 2479. Now, Mr. 1, again, another relatively decent unit. Let's have a look here. With his potential ability, he gets, again, ship bind duration. He gets -1 cooldown, so he goes down to a 9-turn cooldown. I mean, when you really think about it, like, 10-turn cooldown isn't really that bad either. Like, do you really need to expand his Limit Break just for 1 extra turn of cooldown for a character like this, who's already had a really low cooldown in the first place? Probably not. So I guess at this point, no, I don't think this guy's super worth it. He's got a good special. He can help you out on the 10-star difficulty Garp challenges for sure. Same as the Holdem as well that we just talked about. Really good for the 10-star difficulty Garp challenges. But unfortunately not Mr. 1. And then we've got 2 more to go. We've got Camie 2275. Now, Camie is a self-proccing conditional booster because she has double special activation. So with the key, she gets -1 cooldown, goes down to a 10-turn cooldown, and then also resisting Sailor Despair as well, who again reduces special bind on herself by 2 turns. So being able to resist the Sailor Despair is fantastic. This is another character that you may want to consider for Limit Break expanding for generic Rare Recruits. This is actually a really, really good choice because reducing paralysis, special bind, increased damage taken, burn, and then if the enemy's delayed, you get the conditional boost. And even if they're not delayed, you delay them for 1 turn. And remember, she does have the double special activation, so you can launch her special twice and get a guaranteed conditional boost, plus reducing a bunch of debuffs by 4 turns total. Pretty good unit. I like it. Buggy and Camie, really, really good choices. The last unit, 1875, is Violet, which was from the V2 Fujitora batch. I actually used her in the Kizuna Buggy that's actually out right now on Global. So that's interesting. Let's have a look and see what she is doing. So she goes down, what does she get? She gets, she actually gets an additional socket. So does she go to 5 now? Is that what it is? Yeah, she goes to 5 sockets, okay. I didn't actually realize that she only had 4. She gets -3 cooldown to a 5-turn cooldown. Oh boy. And then also Sailor Despair reduction. Oh dude, this is great. This unit's awesome, dude. Holy crap. Because this unit, obviously, as you can see, resists special bind, completely resist it. And again, reducing paralysis by 1, so very similar to the Buggy. Changes all those orbs into matching, reduces paralysis and special bind by 2, gives you a chain boost. You know, the utility removal isn't that great because it's only 2 turns. But, you know, it's still not a bad unit overall. She got pinch healing, critical hit, and then the Sailor Despair reduction. That's actually not bad. Again, this is another character that you may want to consider, but realistically, are you going to use her for a lot of content? Probably not. As I said, I am using her currently on the Kizuna Clash Buggy, because she actually really helps with one of the pieces of content. But again, as I said, realistically, this is not a character you're going to be using a lot. I mean, even when you really think about it, the Camie that we just talked about, who was, what, 2275? This is a character that you probably are not going to use too much either. However, I think that the #1 candidate for Limit Break expansion is definitely this guy, because his utility is off the charts. You have a chance to get a full board of matching orbs if your captain is driven. This guy has so much going on, plus really low cooldown for what he does. And the thing about it is by unlocking the Sailor Despair reduction, the thing about it is there is going to be a new Garp challenge coming soon to Global. It happened on JP. I don't know when it exactly came out, but it's a new 10-star difficulty Garp challenge. So currently we have Heavenly Demon, Revolutionary Army, and Whitebeard. So there's going to be a new one that's going to come out soon called NL, and has obviously surrounded the Skypiea stuff. And on the final stage of that fight, if my memory serves me correctly, he inflicts the fear debuff to your characters, and I think he gives you like special bind or whatever it is. So whatever it is, you know, this Buggy, he actually counters everything on that fight, so long as you have his limit break expansion. So this guy's going to help you a lot on the strength version of that fight. So that's the main reason why I think this guy's going to be great. But just in the future, whenever you are inflicted with special bind and that you also get inflicted with the fear debuff, this guy's going to be one of the great choices to remove that for your team. So that's really cool. But all that being said, that's all the new limit break expansions coming out for January 2021, and I'm sure we're going to get another batch next month in February. Remember, February is our anniversary month, so we're expecting big things. Really cannot really wait for that. It's going to be awesome. But anyways, that's going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching the video today, and if you guys did enjoy it, make sure you go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.